Hey everyone, welcome to Plural Flavor, and today we're making bone broth. But before we begin, I'd like to ask you to please hit like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell for new released videos. This here is the real deal, and it's not that it's a complicated process, but it is a lengthy one, so let's just jump right into it. Of course, the main ingredient of bone broth are cow feet. Here I have one cow foot and I get it cut in half vertically at the meat market and then into pieces that are about 2 inches thick. I also have a tablespoon of turmeric, 5 bay leaves, 1 teaspoon of black pepper kernels, and 1 large onion. You need a really large pot to make bone broth. And just so you have an idea, I have about 50 cups of water in this pot. And the first step is to bring this water to a boil. I'm going to peel my onion, but I'm going to leave the top intact, that way the onion doesn't fall apart. Now that my water is boiling, I'm going to add the cow feet. I will also add in the onion and leave it to cook on medium-high heat for an hour. Throughout the hour, you're going to notice that the froth keeps rising to the top, so I'm just going to continuously skim that off. After an hour, it is time to add our spices, and first I'm adding my bay leaves, my black pepper, and then the turmeric. I will turn up my heat to high and leave it to cook for another hour. It's been about an hour and I noticed that I have some more froth that rose to the top, so I'm just going to skim that off. I will continue cooking this on high heat for 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours later, we need to add some more water, so I will fill this back up to the top and leave it to cook for another 2 hours. Two hours later, we need to fill the water back to the top once again, and you can see the color is starting to change. So we're going to leave this to cook for another 2 hours. 2 hours later, you will notice that the broth is starting to take on a beige color, and that's because the cartilage and the bone marrow are starting to melt. I will add the water back up to the top again and bring this to a boil. That is a lot of steam. I am getting pretty sleepy, so I will turn this down to a very low heat and leave it to cook overnight. If you're not comfortable doing so, you can turn this off and pick it back up in the morning. Rise and shine! It looks like none of my water got evaporated overnight, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn this up to high heat. I've cooked this for about 3 hours and it is time for me to add some water to this. As you can see, the cartilage has fallen off the bones and the cartilage itself is starting to melt, and that's a good indication that the broth is close to being ready. I will add more water, that way my water level is to the top, and I will cook this on high heat for 3 more hours. 3 hours later, we are going to fill the water back up to the top and cook it for another 3.5 hours on high heat, as we want to make sure our broth turns into jelly. 3.5 hours later, I noticed that there is some froth that rose to the top, so I'm going to do my best to skim off as much as possible. And I'm just going to let this cook for another half an hour. It's been half an hour and you will notice that the composition of the cow feet has really changed from when we first put them in, and that means we are practically done, just a few more steps. I'm going to add in my salt and my garlic and let them cook for 1 minute, and then I'm going to turn off my broth and let it cool for an hour. Once my broth is cooled, I will put it through the strainer, hence why we cool it, because if this splashes on your skin, it will burn. But anyways, as you can see, we have nothing left but skin and bones. Once the broth cools down more, I will transfer it into a large container. Then I will refrigerate it for 24 hours. That way our broth turns into jelly. It's been 24 hours. I took my broth out and I noticed the fat rose to the top, so I will skim that off. It's really an optional step. You can leave it. Some people like the animal fat. I don't, so I will take mine out. Jello. My broth has turned into jello. So what I'm going to do is I will put my broth into Ziploc baggies because broth does not stay in the fridge very long. Its shelf life is at most a week, and I cannot use this whole container within 1 week. So Ziploc baggies and freezer. Of course, you don't have to freeze everything right away, and you can just pour yourself a nice bowl of broth and garnish it with some thyme. It is very delicious and it is very, very healthy. Homemade broth is simply the best. You can add it to soups, stews, any kind of sauce dish, and rice. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Please check out my channel for more delicious recipes, and as always, thank you for watching.